man.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored. They did it.
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, joined by my guy Brandon, and it is Philly the podcast, man. And we are on A2D. Shout out to A2D. So we are back with another list to complain about. Basically, that's what we're here with, because I feel like that's what this whole off season is. Shout out to Lane Johnson. He says he's just accepting it at this point, which I think we all have to. We all just have to accept that they're just going to keep on talking junk about it. So the next victim, the next guest, I guess you want to say, the next person on our radar, however you want to say it, how Marv said it the other day, the next person we want to punch is Maurice Jones Drew. So Maurice Jones Drew put out his top 32, his ranking of the top 32 starting running backs, so running back ones, and he put Miles Sanders at number 27. So we're going to basically go through the list, and I'm going to see, we're going to see how many we would actually put ahead of Miles Sanders, and we'll figure out, is he a top 15? Is he a top 20? Is he a top 10? We'll see that. But before we do that, we'll just kind of, I guess, just your first reaction. What was your first reaction to the list when you read it, and how are you feeling towards Mr. Jones Drew?
I mean, I just don't understand how a guy that's top 15 in rushing can be the 27th best running back. It just doesn't make sense to me. And when you just skim through the list, he even has Najee Harris in his top 20. The guy, don't get me wrong, Najee Harris can very well come in and kill it. I know the Steelers have been looking for a running back. James Conner wasn't the answer, but he hasn't touched the field yet. We don't know what he is. To then go ahead and put him above a guy like Miles Sanders, or even put him in the top 20. Like, if you're going to add him to the list, put him toward the back end, just because we don't know what he is. So that just kind of baffles my mind. And I mean, we'll go through it, but just initially, it's like, once again, it seems like another person. I feel like when you make these lists, you got to kind of have those guys that is going to cause controversy. But if it hits, then you look like a genius. Like, I feel like that's what happens.
Yeah, and it sucks because I liked him as a running back. He was a small dude, but he was bulky. He was a fast guy, strong guy. But as far as making lists about running backs, I don't know if that's his calling. So yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of people. There's a Cam Akers. Like you said, Najee Harris. I probably would have put Clyde Edwards above a lot of these people. You got James Robinson pretty high. I mean, you got a lot. I don't know. There's a lot of questions. Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. A lot of these guys, I don't know. I don't know. They were given a lot more opportunity. Right. And, if you really look at their yards per carry, were they better? So what we're going to do, this is probably not going to be the longest of ones. We'll try and reach the hour. If we don't, we don't. But, it's 4th of July weekend. I think everybody can understand that. So I think what the best way to do it is go from 27, because I really don't care about remaking this list, to be honest with you. I just want to see where we end up having Miles Sanders fall. So I think the best way to do it, and you tell me if you agree, is go from 26, which is Chase Edmonds, and tell me if you think he should be above Miles Sanders. I think that's the easiest way, to be honest, is go one by one and stop where we can't put him above. I think that's the fairest thing to do. So we'll look at Chase Edmonds first. He's coming into his 4th season. He had 16 games, 97 rush attempts, 448 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 1 rush touchdown. Receiving, he did well, 4 receiving touchdowns, 53 receptions, 400 yards. I'm going to say right off rip, especially in the Cardinals, where you now have, you have a DeAndre Hopkins, you got a Kyler Murray that's going to be running around and gunning that ball. And Chase Edmonds hasn't done it for the past 3 years as the number 1 guy. I'm not putting him over Miles Sanders. I'm just not. Miles Sanders had a rough year last year. I get that. You know what I'm saying? Miles Sanders has some stuff to prove, and he's definitely has to be consistent. I'll give you that. But Chase Edmonds has not shown me anything that would make me sit here and be like, oh, he's definitely better than Miles Sanders. So I would put him over him.
I agree. I mean, yeah, he's had the touchdowns, receptions over Miles Sanders. But once again, the offense last year for the Eagles, and that's going to be kind of like, I feel like the theme of this is that we're going to start seeing some running backs that had over almost 100 more carries than Miles and only have like maybe a couple hundred yards more than him. And so in this example, is like you got a guy in Chase Edmonds that had only 97 rushing attempts, and you're going to tell me you're going to put him even in this kind of conversation. In a sense, the guy didn't really run the ball at all, like 97 times in a whole season. Like, exactly. And you're going to go ahead and put him over someone that's run the ball more than him, and he didn't even touch 100 times. And so,
and I think he's just projected to be their starter. Like, he's not, you know what I'm saying? He might go in there and straight up not even win that job. Right. So you play somebody that might not even win that job over our starter. Right. Over our clear-cut starter.
Back, one that you like kind of change of pace, you throw in, and he was able to have some success like a James White or something. Someone that you just plug in, he can catch the ball, and you can get some scores off of that. But
yeah, I think that one's too easy for me.
Yeah.
That one's way too easy for me. All right, we already got Miles Sanders at 26. Success. All right, now we go to 25. And they have actually a familiar face, a former Eagle, Raheem Mostert. Now, Raheem Mostert, I'm going to say this. I've always thought that their scheme out in San Francisco allows the players to play to their best potential. I don't want to say that, the scheme is everything for them. They have some good running backs, but that scheme is ridiculous. And, they constantly have 3 running backs that are producing. So it's hard for me to sit here and be like, he's just uber talented. He is good, and he was good for the Eagles as well for that preseason stretch. And he's obviously made that into a career. But, we'll go over the stats. Last year, he played 8 games, 104 attempts, 521 yards, which is 5 yards per carry, 2 rushing attempts, 16 receptions, excuse me, 156 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. I'll let you start this one off, I guess.
Yeah, he obviously has some potential. I mean, he only played 8 games, which means if you go by his pace, if you double that, he was 1,000-yard rusher if everything goes according to plan. And like you said, San Fran's offense with Kyle Shanahan running the team, it's pretty good. Like, you got the different misdirections, and then all of a sudden you got Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. You got these other guys getting involved in the run game too. So for a guy like Mostert, like next year he could be 1,000-yard rusher because there's just so many threats and so much creativity with that offense. But to have a guy that only played 8 games ahead of Miles Sanders, who is, I believe, to be a more well-rounded running back than Mostert. I feel like Mostert's another speed back. In my opinion, he can easily prove me wrong. But I do think that Miles Sanders does rank at least above him. I mean, he's only had 8 games. Like, you got to, unfortunately, hold that against him.
Yeah, and I mean, this is his 7th season, and he's another guy. I think they just got a rook. They just got Trey Sermon, I think, in this draft, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, realistically, is he going to be the guy? I want to say they averaged over 5 yards per carry as an offense just running. I think it was like 5.5 just as an offense. That offense is a running team, so I think it like I said, it helps the skill positions play to their full potential because he's very good at scheming blocks, all that. So does that make him individually better? No, that makes the scheme better, right? But what we're talking about is individual running back, right? So I think it's clearly Miles Sanders. I think that Miles Sanders can give you more than what Raheem Mostert can give you. I mean, he has more rushing yards per carry. I think he had more rush yards. Yeah, he had way more rush yards and only like 4 more games, excuse me. Obviously, last year it was a bad receiving year for him, but he still gave you more than a Raheem Mostert gave you. And like I said, you have all these. We do too. We have a lot of running backs on this roster, but I don't think that there's a real battle for that number one. I think Miles Sanders is that guy. So to me, he's over Mostert. He's over Mostert. You agree with that?
Oh yeah, I agree. So I'm pretty much going to agree for a little bit because I think Miles Sanders is at minimum a top 20 running back.
Well, yeah, I think so too. So all right, so we'll look at Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, 15 games, 215. Like, I mean, this is easy to me. But anyways, 15 games, 215 yards, 215 attempts, 986 rush yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 9 rush TDs, 32 receptions, 158, 1 reception touchdown. They have like 4 running backs that can be their starter. Like that's what I'm. I know your thing with it is like a lot of these people had way more attempts and stuff like that, which is true. They had way more opportunities, a better offense suited to be a running back. My thing is really these guys that you're putting ahead of him might not even be their number one. Like, like realistically, Melvin Gordon's good, but he's going into his 7th season or 8th season, something like that. This might not be him. He might not be the number one guy. They got Phillip Lindsay, if I'm not mistaken. They got Royce Freeman, if I'm not mistaken.
He's off the team this season.
He's off the team. All right, so they have running backs at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? He might not be that guy. So I don't know. And realistically, Melvin Gordon has never been that guy. He like bet on himself that one year, and it failed. It is what it is. Like, he's not that guy. So I don't know. Miles Sanders has the potential to be that guy. And I know a lot of people are going to probably be like, well, what is the list based off? Is it off potential? Well, I'm going off potential when you got a bunch of rookies that never played in your top 20. Yeah. So that's where I stand on that one. But how do you feel about Melvin Gordon?
No, I mean, if we're talking about Melvin Gordon of 2, 3, 4 years ago, then yeah, obviously Melvin Gordon would probably be in the top 15, top 10 at that point. I mean, Melvin Gordon did have some good seasons, but the guy, unfortunately, is on the decline. I mean, he had the opportunity to really show out last year. It was his chance to steal the team, to be the Melvin Gordon that we all believed. But like you said, I mean, the guy had over 200 rush attempts and couldn't break 1,000 yards. So, I mean, you had the opportunity. You knew that the offense kind of needed a run game, especially in Denver, with Drew Lock kind of being a mistake-friendly quarterback and just young wide receivers. Like, you had a chance to really be that veteran and take over. So do I think Melvin Gordon is like maybe in the right spot on this list? Sure. I think he is around the right spot right now in his career. But to have him above, like you said, Miles Sanders with the potential, this is his 7th season, and that he is, unfortunately, for a running back on the decline. I mean, it is what it is. So I definitely, right now at this point, would have Miles Sanders ahead of Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, and then this next one, this one pisses me off too. Mike Davis for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I know they probably think, he's going to go in there and be their number one guy. Who has been a good running back for the Falcons? They're like, I mean, realistically, they had like a little swing with Devontae Freeman and Devontae Foreman, I think.
Yeah.
They had like the Freeman-Foreman combo going for a little while, I think their names were. But like, other than that, when?
The guy averaged 3.9 yards a carry.
Like, seriously, he wasn't that guy. Don't get me wrong. In Carolina, obviously, you had Christian McCaffrey. And I think that they're going off of that last year when he was given, a shot to be kind of that half, like that 1A guy, 1B. Because I don't think that they really had that number one guy when McCaffrey left. They kind of did it by committee. But either way, so they're saying, so he had 15 games, 165 attempts, 642 yards, 3.9 yards per carry. Let's go. 6 rush touchdowns, 59 receptions, 373 reception yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. So maybe he becomes that guy that is a receiving back for the Falcons. You know what I'm saying? But no, man. No, you're not putting him over Miles. I just can't. I have no way I'm putting him over Miles.
The guy has one more carry than Miles, but 220 less yards. Like, come on. There's a difference there. The yards per carry.
I wouldn't even put him over Mostert. I probably wouldn't even put him over. I think he's very high on this list, in my opinion.
You're right.
And that's not even that high.
It's another guy. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, it feels like maybe he's sticking up for older running backs because they know as soon as they almost approach 30, their timeline is pretty short. And this is another 7-season dude. So you figure he's probably about 28, 29 years old on the tail end of his own career. So unless you're Frank Gore, these guys aren't Frank Gore. They're just not. So
at all. Yeah, that one just made no sense for me. Mike Davis, I feel like he's been one of those guys that I know him because of fantasy football, and he's one of those guys that just like sneaks and takes like, red zone touchdowns. But he's not that number one guy, and it's not just going to switch in a team that's not about running the football. You know what I'm saying? In your seventh, like there's just nothing that tells me he should be over Miles Sanders at all, like at all. So that one's probably like the biggest reach for me as far as this list so far, but we'll see. So, all right. So he's at 23 now. We got Miles Sanders at 23. We're making progress. Deandre Swift, another one. This is going to be his second year. He's got potential. He definitely has potential. 13 games, 114 attempts, 521, 4.6 yards per carry, 8 rush TDs, 46 receptions, 357 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. I'll say this. I think that Miles Sanders' rookie year was better than that, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but just off the top of my head, I believe his rookie year.
Miles Sanders' total yards was right there with Josh Jacobs their rookie year.
So, you know what I'm saying? So, my thing is, and we'll get to him in a second, but I'm sorry, you see what Miles Sanders can be, and you saw even this year with less carries as a running back, he got more yards. Does he have things that he has to fix? Definitely. But so do all these teams. And my thing is like, winning has nothing to do with being a good running back. You know what I'm saying? Is it a byproduct of it? Yes. Sometimes if you have a good running game, that definitely can be result in wins. But you winning isn't a direct result all the time of you having a good running back. So it shouldn't be the way that you factor it in. Like how you there's so many things that I feel like they're factoring in with this that have nothing to do with it. Like at the end of the day, you see the talent that Miles Sanders has. You see what he can be if used it properly. He hasn't been used right. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing. So I definitely put him over DeAndre Swift. I think DeAndre Swift could be great though.
Yeah, he has potential. I mean, he kind of owns that team right now with Detroit. I mean, it's his job to lose essentially. They haven't had like a running game in a very long time. So maybe this year with Jared Goff, you figure, all right, he's not Matthew Stafford, so we can't just be throwing the ball 100 times a game. We're going to have to run the ball, and this will be DeAndre Swift's opportunity to take over. Do I see him above Miles Sanders right now? No. There's potential there. You never know. But I just can't see it right now. And maybe that's just a fan bias in me, but I don't know.
I feel like we've seen Miles Sanders take over games. Like if you look at his stats and if you just look at the raw numbers, they're still impressive in my opinion, but like they're not like, oh my God, this guy's a all-world athlete. Don't get me wrong, I get that. But at the same time, if you watch the film, you see that he can make an impact and just wasn't given the opportunity. It is what it is. Like we'd rather bring up random people and not give them, or give them like 1 or 2 random handoffs. Like there was games that we ran the ball in total like 13 times. And there was like 3 running backs getting those touches. So it's like, like how much do you really expect? That's just terrible coaching. That's terrible coaching. And like I said, I'm going to keep saying that. In his rookie year, you saw what he can do. He consistently got better. With more touches, he was getting better. This year, unfortunately, everybody sucked. So if you're looking at potential, I don't know how you can just dismiss that.
And there's a couple plays where he should have had more touchdowns if Wentz could have got him the ball. There's a couple of swing passes, a couple of plays where he was open and could have won. Just one sticks in my brain where he could have just walked into the end zone and Wentz just missed him. And I mean, I get it. It's a team play. All these running backs and say we all had these opportunities, but Miles Sanders could very well be his stats be a lot better individually if things were just a little bit different. I mean,
imagine he got 100 more carries. What would we be talking about if he got 100 more carries? 150 more touches. Like 100 more carries and like 45, 50 more, targets as a receiver. What would we be talking about? Because realistically, that's what a number one running back gets. So I mean, I think sky's the limit still for him. I really do. I
Yeah.
think that he hasn't even touched his potential. Now the next guy is Leonard Fournette at number 21. 13 games, 97 attempts, 367 rush yards, 3.8 yards per carry, 6 rush touchdowns, 36 receptions, 233 reception yards, 0 TDs. I've said this about a couple people. If you're part of a committee, don't talk to me. If you're part of a dedicated committee, please do not talk to me. Like you should not be above anybody on this list. It just does not make sense to me.
Right. He's not even
the thing.
He's not even the starter.
That's what I'm saying. You have 3 people there that most likely, I mean, you couldn't make it in Jaguar land, and the Jaguars ain't got nothing. They were quick to give you up. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're on a Super Bowl team, it does not make you a better player.
Right.
Like the numbers don't match it. The play did not match it last year. I just don't see it. I just do not see it. I just don't see it. I don't even know if he's going to be the number 1 guy.
Ronald Jones is coming into his own, and Leonard Fournette, I mean, when they grabbed him, he was supposed to just be like that short yardage running back. And I mean, his yards per carry show that. I mean, 3.8? Yeah, 3.8 yards per carry. I mean, that just shows that he was the short yardage running back. Yeah. There were times, especially in the postseason, where there was flashes and they're like playoff money, yada, yada, yada. But those little flashes didn't show much to be that starter. I mean, Ronald Jones is started there. He's not a starter. I don't know how you can put a backup before.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that makes no sense to me. That makes and Ronald Jones had a very good year. It's not like he had a bad year. Like he was good all year. So I don't know, man. Yeah. So yeah, all right. So we're at 20. We're at 20. So we got. This is where it gets interesting though, because I do feel like these next couple guys are very good.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to be 100% honest with you. So we got Antonio Gibson, 14 games, obviously from the Washington football team. 14 games, 170 attempts, 795 yards, 4.7 yards per carry, 11 rush TDs, 36 receptions, 247 receiving yards, and 0 touchdowns. I'll let you go first.
I mean, the one thing that sticks out to you is 170 attempts and 11 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty impressive right there, especially coming out as a rookie. But that's also 170 attempts in 14 games. I mean, this is a tough one. You said these are going to get tough, and it is tough because he did flourish in his rookie season. You really can't expect much more out of him. I mean, you were on a team where there was so much drama between the owner in the offseason and then the no team name, and then your quarterback, your starter, Dwayne Haskins, goes to the strip club and all that. Alex Smith's on his comeback, and then he goes down and then comes back. So there's a lot going on for Washington. And yet you got a guy in Antonio Gibson that pretty much showed some promise. And I mean, as someone in the division, we saw him play well, especially against the Cowboys. He had them on ice skates. So I give him applause for that. You can always run up on the Cowboys. I give you applause for that. But right now, I would put up Miles Sanders above Antonio Gibson. Who knows if it's for long? Miles Sanders does need to work on the fumbling and maybe some of the catching a little bit, but I would put Miles Sanders above Antonio Gibson right now.
You know, I would probably move Antonio Gibson up on this list.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
I don't know if I would put Miles Sanders above Antonio Gibson right now, if I'm being 100% honest. Like I think Antonio Gibson he had a really good rookie year, man. He had a really good rookie year. I think it's close. You know, it's hard, man. Because he did go down in injury. So and that's a thing with with Miles Sanders that we talk about is the injuries.
Right.
So you know, and that's kind of what has hindered him even with the Eagles. And obviously Antonio Gibson went down with an injury, so that's something to keep him. But he went crazy against a couple teams. It's tough. I say hold. I'm gonna hold him, and I'm gonna move him and Miles up together.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep.
I respect that.
Yeah, because and Chris Carson's another one. I don't know if you know.
a healthy Chris Carson, that's mad fantasy points. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, facts, right? You know, him and Chris Carson, it's hard for me to put him ahead of them. Like, and James Robinson. Like, these. I don't know if I'd put him a bunch above Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'd definitely put him above Najee.
Yeah.
So I'd move up all those guys. Like, so this is what I would do.
Scoot Najee back and move everyone up one.
Yeah, and I would probably have Miles at 19. Let me look at. I would probably move Austin Eckler back.
I'd move Austin. I feel like Austin Eckler, as cool as he is, he's only had one good season so far. I mean, he got hurt, but he's also just. I feel like he's just one of those change of pace backs. I don't know if he's going to be able to be a full-time starter, full-time like someone that they can use every play, every down back. I think he's just a change of pace dude that had one great season because no one knew who he was. They needed, I think that season Melvin Gordon was injured most of the season. Mm-hmm. And then when he came in, Austin Eckler kind of won that job. But was there any expectations for the Chargers that year? No one really knew. I don't know. But compared to those other guys behind him right now, I would move Austin Eckler back.
This is what I would do. I would probably move Cam Akers back, Austin Eckler back.
Yeah, Cam Akers.
Najee Harris back, and move everybody up. So I would move everybody up 3. So I would probably realistically, because I mean the top 10, I don't necessarily, or even the top.
I don't know. Montgomery, I think he doesn't get used. I mean, 240.
I would keep Montgomery
he gets used, but
I would keep Montgomery up there.
Yeah, I think he's a good running back. I think the Bears just didn't call the right kind of plays.
Exactly.
Like they used him, but they were doing plays because one of my buddies, draft Dr. Phil, he's a big Bears fan, big David Montgomery fan, and he was just clamoring that they would run him in these plays that just weren't suit for him. It's kind of like when we had what's his name, the running back that we got. DeMarco Murray, where you can give him all the carries, but if you're giving him the wrong type of plays that doesn't suit him, he looks like trash. And then he goes to the Titans and kills him, has a 1,000-yard season. So I feel like David Montgomery is in that position where if they run him right, he'd be a reliable running back there. I like that dude.
And I like J.K. Dobbins. Like the only people that really would change this list for me, because I'm not gonna lie, I can't put Miles in the top 10 yet.
No, when you look at the top 10, you can't.
Yeah, and I mean Josh Jacobs is a little bit of a stretch for me in the top 10, but I wouldn't put him over Jonathan Taylor. And like he would probably that would probably switch. Like maybe I would switch Jonathan Taylor and I would probably move Josh Jacobs down.
What's crazy?
But I don't think it would change
on this list. Like I know Kareem Hunt's a backup, but
they got Nick
Chubb. You have other dudes that were basically backups. I feel like Kareem Hunt should have been on this list.
They should have just put them both at number 5 because they're both the starter, basically.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, I think I would put Miles Sanders at number 18. I think I would, like I said, I would move a couple people down, Cam Akers, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, and I would just move everybody else up. And I would have him at 18. I think that's fair.
I agree. That's a solid, because I mean, yeah, like you said, we're not gonna be able to move him up into that top 15 when you just once you start get past the disrespect of having him at 27 and you get to that top 15, then you're just like, oh damn, okay,
yeah, it's not as flexible as you would think. And I mean, look, and that's with sitting here knowing that Miles Sanders has a lot to work on. Like we can't just poo-poo the facts. It is what it is. We know that Miles Sanders, whether it's injuries, whether it's the fumbles, whether it's just seeing if he can stay healthy for 16 games and be that guy for 16 games, then boom, that's what we gotta figure out. But just a small sample size. And like I said, I mean, maybe you can put him over at Edwards-Helaire, but I feel like for him to have done what he did, especially towards the end of the season, with such a crowded running back room and such a crowded offense, just in general, it's hard for me to put Miles Sanders over him. James Robinson, maybe you could put him over him just because James Robinson was on a horrible team.
Right.
And like
They gave him
they
240 attempts. Imagine if Miles Sanders get something like that.
facts.
Jeez.
And you got Travis Etienne on that team. I know they've been talking about he's going to be a wide receiver mostly, but
man, you don't take someone in the first round at running backs. You just only have him at wide receiver. Like that dude's gonna.
You do when they're your quarterback's best friend.
Touche.
That's probably why they did it. I mean, yeah, I really think 18, maybe 17 at the most. I just really can't. Yeah. I mean, I agree with the time. I don't necessarily agree with the order, maybe, but Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, that guy that wears skirts when he plays, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon. Like I said, Josh Jacobs is a little bit high. Jonathan Taylor, I got to put over him. J.K. Dobbins, I would probably put over him because he's another guy that was in a rotation, and now he's going to probably take over because Mark Ingram left. So he was a dog last year. He was averaging like 6 yards per game. He was a dog last year. Montgomery, it will be close with Montgomery because again, you look at 247 attempts. What if Miles gets that? What if everything was,
Probably looks similar.
I love how we literally say like in depth what we're saying, and this is what they get from that. Like who said that? Like, you feel me? We're literally saying the opposite, and that's what people get. But anyways. Oh, isn't better. I read it wrong. My bad. I talked junk. I thought he said that we said he is better. I don't think he is. I don't see how you can say that he is, to be honest. I mean, it is what it is. That offense is not suited to be a running back. It just isn't. That offense is suited for Mahomes and we had Andy Reid. So we know how hard it is to be a running back in the Andy Reid system.
Yeah,
so,
and on top of that, like you said, the crowded backfield, you figure you got Le'Veon Bell, so you have to really show out as a rookie. We saw him make cuts and make moves that were pretty dynamic and pretty good. And, I mean, I feel like that one could be a toss-up, though. I feel like, to that dude's point, that Miles Sanders could potentially, like, depending on who's making the list and stuff, you could put Miles Sanders maybe one above Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And you can do that based off the fact that Andy Reid didn't really put the ball in his hands a lot toward the end of everything. And granted, that's Andy Reid and wanting to pass the ball and make Mahomes the hero. But when you knew your offensive line was so trash that game because your tackles were out, you should have ran the ball more and relied on your running back. And the fact that he didn't rely on Clyde Edwards-Helaire more, maybe that you could use that against them and say Miles Sanders at least, well, Doug Peterson either. So
shout out to Bill Middlebrook because he was like one of the first comments and he said Sanders should be. I haven't been reading the comments. I'm not gonna lie, I'm terrible. It is what it is. I had to vent about this, but yeah, he did say Sanders should be 18. That was at 106, so right when we started, basically. So shout out to him. He said y'all tripping on like a 5-spot difference. He still ain't top 10 running backs. He's not elite. He's a Tony Pollard at best.
Is he talking about Miles Sanders?
Yeah, he's talking about Miles Sanders.
Come on.
First of all, you got to like. I'm gonna ask everybody. This ain't my channel, so maybe this is a little bit, asking too much. But on my channel, they have to put their comments through spell check before they comment because I can't read as it is. You know what I'm saying? So there's that many. But either way. No, I mean, that's a big difference. 5 spots is a big difference. And it's not 5 spots, it's 9 spots. So we're going to do math today. We're going to do math. We're going to spell properly. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do all this. It's almost 4th of July. We're going to have that good energy. But yeah, no, it's 9 spots is a big difference, especially when you look at the people that he had above him.
Right.
Miles is 10 to 15. Look at the yards per carry and the amount of carries he got last season. I agree with that. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, the only problem with that is yes, when you look at it, he was top 15 in rushing yards. His yards per attempt are great. I think he, if I'm not mistaken, might be in the top 5-ish when it comes to those big home run plays from a running back. But what's holding him back, and this was because of the offense, because of the offensive line, Carson Wentz, and everything is those receiving yards and touchdowns, reception-wise. It's just not there. And unfortunately, these other guys, they got it. And they've been able to show to be that diverse player. So, yes, we've seen Miles Sanders can be a receiving back, but I know that's something he has to work on. Despite some bad throws, he also had some bad drops that he should have had. So, I'm just putting that out there.
That's the thing, though. You got to, like, look at everything. I mean, and maybe we are being, like, the opposite of bias, because I feel like I was doing that with the quarterback list. It's like you don't want to sit here and sound too homer, but realistically, it really is. I told you, once we hit 20, it was like it's hard to really make a argument for a lot of these people, because it's like, I mean, they showed it. They were healthy last year. They had a decent offense, going around them and everything. Like, Miles Sanders has been held back, whether it be by coaching, whether it be by himself, whether it be anything. But I think that we all know that Miles Sanders has the ceiling. Miles Sanders, if we're going off just pure potential, which a lot of this seems like, because a lot of these people aren't even starters, like we were saying, why not? Why isn't Miles Sanders a top guy? You know what I mean? If I'm just talking straight potential, I think he is a top 10, top 15 guy in the league. But production and what he's done mixed with potential maybe drops him a little bit, because it is what it is. You did have
stay healthy. I feel like he's hurt every year at pivotal points too. It's not like he's out for a quarter. It's like he's out for a couple games, and we have to rely on dudes like Boston Scott to really help this team move forward. And that plays a part too. Like they've used against Wentz, or your best availability or your best ability is availability. So we need him to stay healthy and not fumble the ball either. Because in that Cleveland Browns game, that could have changed a big difference if we scored.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's a lot, and we saw drops too. I mean, I sit here and talk junk about Carson Wentz and his inaccuracy, but there was some times that he threw the ball at Miles Sanders, and it did not get caught. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit here and put blame on Miles Sanders, but that one ain't catch it. So I don't know, man. He does have to work on some stuff, and he does have to be consistent. That's the one thing I will say that Maurice Jones Drew said that was 110% correct. He has to be more consistent, because we can't have a wishy-washy, number one running back. Especially this is going to be, I think, his third year. Next year is going to be your final year, your contract year. You got to show something. We can't be in the same situation that we are right now with Andre Dillard, where we don't really know what we got, and we're going to have to be paying him pretty soon. So, this is the year he's got to ball out. So we'll see, man. We will definitely see. But yeah, with a lack of wide receiver core, I think Hurts' rushing ability does nothing but help Miles this season. I can agree with that. I definitely can agree with that.
Yeah.
He said, whose list are you guys reading off of? It's
Maurice
Jones Drew.
It's off of, if you Google, it's on NFL.com. So he wrote it for NFL. It was published on June 30th.
So he must be a Cowboys fan. He says, let me guess, Hurts belongs in the top 10 too. If you watched it, you would have saw we didn't even put him close, but okay. What was he going to say?
I was going to say, you got to do it like the letters, where like you have a couple capitalized.
Yeah.
With the SpongeBob meme.
He said, why would guys put them that low just because they hate the Eagles? If we go with that logic, Dallas should be. Oh yeah, he's definitely a Dallas fan because he thinks everybody cares about the Dallas. Literally nobody in here is talking about Dallas, and what comes up? The Dallas fan and his feelings. You sensitive, bro. You sensitive. What was it that Cowboys fan? What was it? Cowboys talk say is you got low self-esteem, bro. You got low self-esteem. You got to work on that. Carson Wentz, who? I have no idea. I have no idea who he is. MJD just hating on us since 2017. I think honestly, MJD just was looking for something people were gonna click, because no matter how much Jay Thriller or whatever the hell his name is wants to come in here and act like he's a loyal Cowboys fan, why are you watching an Eagles content creator if the Cowboys fan base is so great? That's the thing I don't get. You talk about, like, this is the thing. Cowboys fans always want to talk about how, you bring up the Cowboys and, you do it for clout. Nobody gives a damn about y'all. If they did, they would be writing all these dumbass articles about you. But all year, it's been talking about Jalen Hurts, this player on the Eagles. Devontae Smith ain't this. let's check the record. Go look at Bleacher Report and let's see what you see. Because realistically, it's just been a hate fest all year for the Eagles. And rightfully so. At the end of the day, we didn't have the greatest of years last year, but it is what it is.
But
exactly.
And just to bring up, like, no, we don't have Hurts in the top 10. We just felt that he was disrespected by being outside of the top 40. The dude wasn't even 40. He was probably 41 to 45. Like, it just didn't make sense. He had 6 rookies ahead of him, including he had Zach Wilson ahead of Trevor Lawrence. So, that's the reason why we complained about that list. And this list, we don't have Miles Sanders in the top 15. We're going based off what we see, and we moved him up a little bit because there are backup running backs in a legit committee, and guys that they're at the tail end of their career. And Miles, I would take him over any day.
Facts. He said they got Najee Harris over him. What a joke. That's what I'm saying. There's just no consistency throughout all these lists. There's no consistency. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all I want. Just like we want the refs to call it both ways. Like if you're gonna look at just pure, potential, then just look at pure potential. If you're gonna look at this, look at just this. If you're gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like be consistent with it. Like this list makes no sense. It's just like these are the guys I like. That's really what it is. Like I feel like he played a couple games of Madden with Mike Davis, and now he's his favorite running back. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes no sense. If we're just letting anybody make it, and that's why I said I'm not gonna make a list, because realistically, the way that the NFL works right now, we don't even know who's gonna be the starter for a lot of teams. A lot of teams are going with a bunch of different running backs at a committee. So who knows? That old way of having just your workhorse running back is long gone for a lot of organizations, and the Eagles might be one of them. That could work against Miles Sanders, but I feel like if he has 20, I think if he gets 15 to 20 carries a game, he's going to be elite. I think he will be a top 10 player. I don't know top 5, but I think production-wise, he can be a top 10 player if he's getting those type of touches, especially in a 17-game season. So I don't think there's much in the way of delusion for thinking that Miles Sanders should be top 20 at the very least. The very least.
Right.
Jalen Williams says Miles Sanders to me is ranked 15th to me, but he still has a lot of development to go, and we'll see if he can reach his potential. Yeah, we have him at 18. We have him like 18, 17. That's kind of where we have him. Like I said, like we were saying, I kind of feel like we're trying to be as unbiased as possible. So maybe 1 or 2 people, because like I said, I would probably move Jonathan Taylor down. Maybe a David Montgomery moves down, but like, I don't know. You look at the production and it's hard to really do that. So could you make a argument for him to be number 15 or top 15? Definitely.
I don't know. Jonathan Taylor, he's nice.
Jonathan Taylor is nice. That's the thing. But I mean, Jonathan Taylor got a lot of carries, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, he had 232 carries.
Like give Booby that type of, give him those many touches and let me see. If he's not, then he's not, and that's cool. But like, that's not cool. That's not what I want at all. But let me see. I mean, realistically, I think last year Kerryon Johnson was in the number 1. It was in one of these lists, and he was probably top 20.
Right.
And he's our backup to the guy you're saying is number 27. So it's like, apparently everybody sucks on this team, bro. But we'll see. What's up, guys? Miles could be up higher if it wasn't for Doug P. That's a fact. That's a big fact. I can't put these second-year running backs over him. Maybe Taylor. I'll put Taylor. I mean, Taylor's good, yeah.
And here's the thing is that even so, Miles Sanders, his rookie season, he had 179 attempts. And last year, he had 164 attempts. So he even had less rushing attempts, but he was still able to muster 50 more yards than he did his rookie season. That just shows that the trajectory, like if he's given more carries, let him eclipse 200 at least. He can be 1,000-yard rusher. And, yeah, his yards for receiving went down pretty dramatic, but he also caught 22 less passes. So he went from 509 yards his rookie season to 197. So, yeah, so there's a drop-off there, but there's a lot going on in that offense that was more than just Miles Sanders when it comes to getting the ball out. So
That's the thing. You know, a lot of people talk about context, but don't want to talk about it when it comes to the Eagles. Like, let's talk context. There's a lot of injuries. There was a lot of, especially to that offensive line, there was a lot of moving parts and a lot of just discord in the locker room and on the field. So, you know, if we're gonna talk, let's talk. You know, you gotta say the whole story. You can't just say part of the story.
To be on the fairness of everything, he did fumble the ball twice his rookie year and then 4 times last year. So that number cannot keep increasing. That needs to go down, and that's a knock on him. He needs to be better at that and not fumble. So just putting that part out there so we know that, you know.
Yeah, you gotta. That's a disclaimer. We understand that there has to be better. So Jalen Williams wants to know what class of running back would we put him in. Now, I'll say this. If there's a class of like right under, like there's like the superstar tier, right? Then there's like the really good. Like I think he's really good. I don't think he's a superstar yet. I think he can be, but I think he's really good. I think he's a very productive player. I mean, you know, I would say that he's above average. So I would put him like right under that, you know, superstar level.
Yeah. I mean, if we're putting him at between 15 and 18 between us and other people that are commenting, I'm going to have to say if there's tiers, you got your superstars, elite, whatever, then you have really good, and then you have good, then meh, and then just straight trash. And I think he's at the good right now. I think he has potential and the ceiling to move up to that really good, that right underneath the superstar. I don't know. The people in that superstar, that's like the Derrick Henry, the Christian McCaffreys, the once upon a time Zeke Elliott's, the if healthy Saquon Barkley's of the world, Adrian Peterson back in the day. Like I need to see a Miles Sanders to kind of really project like that and have a season like one of those guys had. But I put him right now as like the good, that tier 3. But I mean, tier 3 is going to have a good amount of people, but I don't think that he's in that bottom because that 27 telling me that he's in that trash bag level. Like that's trash bag level. That's not even like the meh level. And I don't think that's Miles Sanders at all. And Boston Scott's that dude. I respect.
Yeah, you love Boston Scott. That's what I was gonna say. You love Boston Scott. Shout out to Jay Triller. I wish I could wake up this delusional every day. You know, just I wish. I really would. I envy you, brother. I envy you, man. Anyways, we're gonna see what happens. Let the players play. Let the players play talk. And yeah, we're gonna see what happens.
You notice how he didn't compare any defensive players.
No, he said that the only possession is better that we're better at is defensive tackling. That's TBD. Get out of here, man. Your secondary buns. Secondary straight.
They
trash
let up
water.
Their history, like amount of points last season. Like what's he talking about? And that's
great.
With his linebackers being there. And I mean, yeah, they drafted one this year and Micah Parsons, but who's to say? I mean, we haven't seen him play in a year.
Dak went 1-3, and they keep on acting like last year was going to be some historical season for them. Dak was 1-3 before he got off that field. Please save me this, but please spare me, please.
And that one came off a fluke. If the Falcons picked up the ball,
for real, man, come on, please spare me, please. I can't wait for this season, man, for real, because like I've been trying to stay humble and trying to be on the the fence about this season, about who I think will be. But man, let us be good, bro. I am bringing out screenshots. Man, I promise you. I promise you.
I think that's week 3, right? That's when we play.
Yeah, week 3. We're gonna smack them. We're gonna definitely smack them. We sweeping the Cowboys this year. Just because they talking all that trash. That's just what's gonna happen. Just because they talking junk, they get instant karma. But either way, man, we about to end this up, man. So to end it up, as far as the poll question goes, for me at least, I'll let you answer. I mean, I'm gonna disagree with the top 15. I think that he can be, but right now I have him like around 17 to 18. So I think he's a top 20, but not top 15 right now.
Yeah, prior to doing this live, I was in that top 15. But then when I really looked at the list, looked at the numbers, and just, I'm going to have to agree with you. I should say I disagree. I think that he's in that 16 to 19 range, or 16 to 20. I don't think he's 27, but he does have stuff to work on. And when you look at the players that are below him in that 15 or 1 to 15, those are some ballers out there. So he definitely has some work, and hopefully the coach can give him the opportunity to show out.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I'm hoping that he proves me wrong. I'm hoping everybody proves me wrong, if I'm being 100% honest. But I'm gonna try and, be the modest optimist. Try to, keep my expectations a little tempered. But I love Miles Sanders, and I really do feel like if he gets the opportunity, he's gonna prove a lot of people wrong. So let's get it, man. I'm excited. He said our linebackers versus yours. You just went and drafted a linebacker because your linebackers. Never mind. Just come on over to the channel. We have a lot of Cowboys fans on, or Cowboys people on, bro. We have this argument a lot. So come on over, man. You already know what it is, Jalen. You know how we get down. But either way, man, I appreciate everybody in the chat. Be sure to join the A2D membership, man. They got a dope A2D membership. Be sure to come on over to the channel. We just hit 2K. So if you already are on the channel, we appreciate you. But, it's Philly the podcast. We out here being unbiased. The Cowboys fans are trash. They want to be the Eagles fans so bad, but they can't.
Facts.
They hate us because they ain't us, Brandon. They hate us because they ain't us. But you got anything you want to say before we get out of here, man?
Nah, man, you ended that perfectly. Just keep it out. Dallas sucks.
Dallas sucks. Yeah, he got us hyped. But either way, man, I appreciate everybody. And y'all know what it is, man. It is fly, Eagles fly. And we are out here. Peace.